a warrant, not officially, uh, 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 a forester. We hired a forester to come and check our forestry here, trees, see if we can build our own houses if we have enough wood to do that. So he went and looked at it. He says, "Oh yes, you can build all your own houses, all you need for this community." But he says, "You better get going now." He says, "Those trees this big is so old. There's hardly any wet stuff in those trees. Even a green jack pine, they were so old, but they're dry." He says, "If there's a forest fire, it's going to clean it right off." That's exactly what happened about a few years after he told us that. So we got a big burnt area there now. We got a nice big patch there, young jack pine. But they would be ready for harvest or even for firewood the next 50 years or so.
So do you remember what year that was that the fire?
No, I don't. It must be after 1976 because I was already working at the airport for MTO. And when they evacuate people, they leave the core people to look after, like say me and one guy at the airport. We stayed back, and we were going to be the last ones. And the Hudson's Bay store was still here at that time. And so somebody was left there. Somebody else was left to look after the community, but women, just about everybody, anybody, and kids, elderly people, sick people, they all evacuated to Geraldton.
Was that the last time you remember the community being evacuated for a fire? The last time, was that the last time you remember the
No, no,
community being
no,
evacuated?
no. We have had the other evacuations, but not as big as that one was because it was right close here. A lot of evacuation have been happening pretty well almost regularly, so to speak, because if there's a fire 10 miles somewhere, but the wind is the right direction for a smoke, and the people with the asthma and elder people, they have to move them out because they can't get enough oxygen into their lungs. So that's one of the recent evacuations. This one here in late 1970s was the biggest one to us. And we were standing right here in the community. The wind was going west, and then it goes coming from north. This is nighttime, we were watching it. And then the east wind came in. It was just coming right back to us, but it didn't last. The wind changed again to take it away from us. It was, we were standing there, we could see sky was red on the other end of the lake there.
Pretty scary.
You wonder which direction you should run. Yeah.
Now, when you were chief, was there already a winter road into the community, or when you were chief?
Yeah.
Was there a winter road into the community then?
Yes. What happened is the Hudson's Bay Company had enough freight to warrant a tractor train to come up here. And a company by the name of Sigfusson from Manitoba came down here and hauled freight for all the posts like Lansdowne, Webbequay, and Summer Beaver, and Fort Hope. So somehow, Ontario government asked Sigfusson Transport, they call themselves, to excuse themselves out of Ontario. They went they went back to Manitoba. I have no idea, never find out why they chased them out. So that road was sitting and idling, not doing anything because nobody to haul, nobody to maintain, nobody to build a winter road. You virtually had to build a winter road every year, eh? And so when I became a chief and I went to see Ministry of Natural Resources for a land use permit from Badastawa, which is north of Pickle Lake, and to hold that license so that no outsider can get it. So in the next couple of years, we rebuilt that road. We widened it out a little bit and all that. So ever since then, we had transport trucks. Trucks are weigh about 25,000 pounds, and then so they haul about 25,000 pounds of freight. That's a 50,000 pound load. So, so that was happening all the time, and other communities get the idea, and everybody, we can drive up there with the pickup trucks, and with people buy trucks and things that they can't bring it in the smaller airplanes. And but last winter, I'm not sure if any community up north haul any freight on the land, because there was only about 2.5 inches ice at a lot of places. Slush ice don't mean anything because it doesn't hold anything. So they didn't have enough ice last winter, so we had to haul. If they're going to build the houses, they had to. Whoever had to build the houses had to haul building material by air, and our diesel fuel, they all have to pour our lights. They had to be by air, where the bulk tank trucks would have been coming in to pump right into your tanks.
Was that the first time you remember there not being a winter road?
I can't remember any warmer in my life as it was last winter. I can't. There were some cold days, but I can't remember if we had any more than 3 or 4 40 below zero Fahrenheit. I mean Celsius. Well, it doesn't matter, I guess. When it's 40, it's 40. And, but we got 2 or 3 of them last winter, that's it. But I swear we've had a lot of 30 below zeros, 35, 40s, and that's when it builds ice, and that's when it's safe to have transports come up here and other communities to haul freight.
So the winters really are different.
It's slowly getting warmer and warmer. Like my goose hunting camp, I said it's about 50-some miles by Skidoo Trail from here. And we had the young fellas, capable young fellas, went up there this spring, and they can only stay 2 or 3 days, and that's if they have to come back, otherwise they're going to have to find a canoe somewhere to come back. So it was a really strange winter.
What about the summers? Are the summers warmer than they used to be?
Summer to me is okay. This one here, I don't think I'll tell the truth. It's if I say hotter, because when you're an old guy, 81, heat is one thing you don't get along with. So you have to have a cool building or air conditioning or something like that, and shed and that kind of stuff. So but I do have a feeling It is hotter this summer or last summer than it had been before that. But it's definitely earlier breakup in the last 4 or 5 years than it had in the past. Like, you know, when breakup would be, ice would be still on the lake here on the 25th of May. But in 2 weeks, there's no ice in sight anywhere here in 25th of May.
So traveling in the winter on the lakes, traveling for not just on the winter road, but just traveling for trapping is much
Yeah,
more difficult.
the winter traveling actually is also terrible because you got lots of slush. You got more slush on the lake and rivers than you do in the cold winters. And Muskeg frost doesn't go very deep compared to other years before.
Do you remember there being rainstorms in the winter at all when you were
Who?
rainstorms, rain,
Oh,
big rainstorms, severe rainstorms?
no.
Did they ever occur in winter? Did they occur in
Not
winter
that
now?
I know of. I mean, we had 3 or 4 day, 3 or 4 day rain and that, and but that's been happening any time I remember. But we do in the fall get lots of heavy snow on the ground, and it stays there, then it melts again. And same thing as last spring. And it snowed day after day, and pretty soon you got a couple of feet of snow, and there were hunters, goose hunters, all over the camps. Couldn't come home because the snow machines couldn't break through the snow and travel on it. And in some cases, the First Nation here had to call up a helicopter to haul the goose hunters back from their hunting areas because traveling is so terrible. And in fact, we lost one person because of that.
What month of the year would that be?
That would be April.
April. You're okay, Colin.
And we're on.
We're rolling again. What about winds? Do you remember winds being stronger or coming from a different direction in those days compared with now?
Not really. Not really. We still have a pretty strong winds, but it's. I think it has a lot to do with what direction that wind is coming from, and it might be south, east, and even west, but that doesn't build much ice. And north wind is the one that builds the ice, and I guess it's colder because the air up north, or we're not all that far from Northwest Territories area. I mean, it's a lot of cold air coming there, and you could see pines on a tree and the cones on the tree. You can see them spread out on the ice a lot of times that they blow off because their stems are so fragile and the winter break it and blow away. But you don't see that anymore.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a very subtle thing
Yeah.
to see.
We didn't have no gauges or temperatures or thermometers to tell us how cold it is.
Tell me more about the geese. You would go geese hunting you would go goose hunting every year, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Have the geese changed in the way they migrate now? the times when they arrive here over the community, the times when they're flying?
Well, actually, it's the other way around. It seems that the Mother Nature is confusing the wildlife, because like this spring, hunting was very poor. We hunt geese in the spring, and the geese wasn't all that many. In fact, I would say a good man can bring home 50 geese. That they probably, bring home 10 geese if that this year, because yeah, if all the snow is gone here and so is over there, it seems they fly wherever they're coming from down north there, because it's already, the reason there's lots here, they just move along as where they can find enough feet, open water, not to find feet. But if there's no ice on, over there too, and the ice is all gone here, so they just fly by and keep going, and so there was hardly any geese, and mallards, there's very, very few. And we had very poor goose hunting.
I've heard that there were geese flying over in July.
Yes, it seems that that's why I'm saying that Mother Nature's confusing the wildlife, because they actually land right out here in the front, a flock, but just long enough to drink water, so it seems, and then they take off again and keep on going to the north. Yeah, but they don't stay like when they do in a normal gradual breakup.
Is it still the same when you're hunting moose? Are the moose still in the same place?
Not really, because moose is going by a condition of the land they live in. If they go in the high hills in the middle of the winter, and as it gets warmer, they go on the sunny side, the hills and muskeg, and then eventually they in the water in the creeks and that. And then in the fall, they don't care where they are because they in mating, and but they seems to be in lower hard ground in the fall than go up the high hills and where the big trees are for shelter and all that. So moose doesn't necessarily stay year-round in one place. It's a big territory where they spend their summer, fall, winter, and the spring. Every year, every different year season, they in different place. It's according to where their food is become available.
And you know those places?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen it all, but I can't handle it like I used to, because it's you're getting stupid when you get old.
I don't think so. I don't think that's happening to you. Now, did your parents tell you that things were different from when they were young?
No, our native way of teaching in the old days, up until about residential school days, they don't. They tell you something, but they don't spend 8 hours drawing you something they're going to teach you. You go with your dad. And I was with my dad on his drop line when I was 11 years old. And when I was 12 years old, I went to school, and I was 13 when I come back. And after I came back, I was 14, and I was with my dad all the time. So when my brother was big enough to go trapping with my dad, he went with my dad, and I went to my dad's cousin. He didn't have boys. in his family, so he had girls. So he needed a boy. So basically, what I'm saying is, you just watch, or they make you do. They don't necessarily tell you what to do. Eh? Like a lot of people, if it's real windy, but you can't notice it here, you might just take off to go across the lake. When you're halfway there, you realize you realize the waves are high, and so turn around is out of the question, and you just have to keep going to hope and pray that it's not going to get any worse. On the other hand, if it's a south wind, like say we are on the north shore here, and if it's a south wind, if it's a high waves, if you can make it to the first 500 yards, you're going to make it because it's calmer from the shelter on the shoreline there, and that's how you teach your people how to survive in there. Same is on the ice. Same as on the ice. If you got a 50% chance of break through the ice on the early fall and early winter, don't take that chance, because cut your way around that weak ice and through the bush. And that way, it takes you maybe 3 hours longer than it takes you, but you will maybe live another 30 years by doing that. Yeah, that's the kind of teaching that the people lost when when they got picked up to go to residential school, and they are packed like sardines in some building. And I don't know if it's good and bad, but you have to go to church at least twice every Sunday. So it was totally different kind of living. They make you do things that you never done before, and you get punished if you don't do it. And
What sort of job do you think the schools do now?
okay, now that the reason the community is this size and the same as other communities, because of school. Otherwise, our kids had to be taken away to residential school when we came in. So this is the only way we can say, okay, you go to school here, and you send your kid to school, and 11:30 you start cooking something for your kid to eat, and send them back out and that kind of stuff. And so that's what the advantage. You have it's really hard on when you see your younger brother crying for a pence and lonesome, and that takes heart to take. And sometimes if you have a sister and going to school in the same school, they won't even allow you. Closest you can see is a dining room. One side dining room is a girl's side, and a boy's side, or to the church, and the girls on that side, the boys on this side. But other than that, they're whatever they do, and our rest of our living ourselves is on the other side end of the big building. And you get to see your sister once in a while, but that's about all you can do. Wave. You don't get to talk to them. I seen a lot of. I didn't have a sister going in there, but when I was there, but I had. There were some girls there that I knew from back home, So.
Tell me about your time as chief. What do you remember as being the biggest challenges, and what were your greatest achievements when you were chief?
Okay, I think my greatest challenge of the chief, I didn't do it all. There was a chief before me, and then and I was there right when it's happening. And then of course there was chief and many more chiefs in the past. Okay, since they bring us here all together, and because our kids have to go to school here at local school. Now, uh, you can imagine all those houses you see in this community, if each and every one of them have a outhouse. You know, that is then we had to have electricity because what we had was coal oil lamps or Coleman lamps, propane or white gas, and and it makes it dirty on the ceiling, black, and that thing is, and we got no running water, and some of those houses is good half a kilometer from the water, so they have to haul that water from the lake to their houses. So we have to have electricity, and then we have to have water and sewer, and we have to have a lagoon built somewhere. Now that's been being done. That is quite a improvement in our lives, and looking after the kids, throw them in the shower or tub and that kind of stuff. And so it's gradually improved, but before that it was terrible because we have to haul our firewood, and those days we didn't even have a chainsaw. Had to have what they call a saw like this. So as a chief before me and chiefs after this, they had to talk to the government, you know, and a lot of people that are now jobless residential school survivors, they call them. They didn't know how to live in this kind of environment, or go cut wood in the bush, and go chop the ice on the lake, and to get your drinking water and the washing and all that. So it was a very struggle for them because when they were in the residential schools, they just have to open the tab and get a drink of water. So so everything was kind of fight against each other to children that was learning their own way had a hard time learning the way the school wanted us to live. And once they got them kind of trained, now that we got those schools here, now they have to learn their own way. And some of them are very smart kids because they know how to do it, even just seeing it once done, like hunting, fishing, and all that kind of stuff. But others, they kind of lost completely. Yeah, it's.
Now, part of what I've noticed in the community in the times that I've been here is that sometimes the ditches overflow, the ditches flood, the culverts are blocked, especially in the spring, and it seems to me that the foundations of houses get damp, and I wonder if that produces a mold problem. Is that a problem that you?
Yeah, there's a lot of mold on the houses. That all depends who they are, what they are, and okay, ditches is being debris or sand and mud is washed into the ditch, and then gets stuck in the culvert, And we do have maintenance people in the community, but there's not enough money to pay them, and they don't have very good equipment to work with to keep those things clean. So they opened those water, I don't know what you call those things, to flush the culverts to clean them out. But it is a lack of equipment, knowledge, because it's a new. We never had to flush a ditch because we never had a ditch in our community before.
So coming back to changing climate, what do you think is the biggest change from when you were a young boy?
I think the biggest change is not so much the people. I think it's the wildlife is the biggest change. As a result, if we want to hunt the same way that we were hunting 10 years ago, it's different now because they're either not there or whatever. So I think the combination of people hunting at the wrong time and because we have an early spring or early fall or late fall and that kind of stuff. I think that it's the weather is causing us more problem in the way of our traditional way of life, like hunting and fishing. Like even the spawning seasons of fish, they confuse because some kind of a species are, there's still a little bit ice when they, now there's no ice at all, and the fish live on the according to temperature of the water. So if it's already hot water and warm water in the spawning ground, they're not going to spawn over there because they can't stand it. That seems to be the biggest problem, a lot of confusion.
Have you seen any new animals or new birds that you didn't see when you were young?
Bears also seems to be confused. I don't know because, like I said, our dump here, I have seen over the last couple of years that I seen maybe 14 bears in the garbage dump when I go dump my bag, and they don't run away from you either. It's supposed to be afraid of human beings, and they just wait for you to throw out your garbage in the dump, and so they can get going. And so that never happened before because, like I said, where the fish used to spawn in shallow waters, and they don't spawn there very much because when the bear gets there, if the fish is not there, they're going to have to go find some other way to eat.
So they go to your garbage dump.
So that's the next best thing. But some of them are getting very fussy too, because if you clean the fish and you take it to the dump, they eat cooked scrap food first before they eat the raw food. So next thing they're going to ask for a knife and forks.
Hey, last couple of questions. Tell me about how you got the store started. What gave you the idea to start a store here in the community?
What?
What gave you the idea of starting a grocery store in the community?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a little things happen here and there. First, Hudson's Bay store burnt down, and then the co-op. start going down, and not. It eventually went bankrupt because of the mismanagement, so to speak. So, so I start out a little store, and the people that start to sell gas, they couldn't stay with it, so nobody was supplying the gasoline for snow machines and outboard motors and chainsaws. And so I start a little bit on that, and I was very small, in size of business. So gradually, and then eventually they didn't want a post office. So I had to accommodate the post office, and a little that, a little this. After 20 some years, I want to get out of the being a postmaster, since no money in that. And but they couldn't get anybody to post office doesn't pay enough money to support a guy's family what they're paying. So nobody signed up. So chief asked me if I could take it back again, and so I took it back again. So I'm not really just a postmaster. I got a contract. Whatever is a problem that's mine to fix it. What I do is I got two people trained to work in the post office, and they work 1 week in post office. The other one work 1 week in my store. Next week it's the other way around. So that keep them happy. And if any one of them has a problem, like if a family member is sick or something, has to take a day off or something, then they work each other to cover each other. Besides, I got other staff members that can fit in there if I have to, but that's never had to happen yet. So that's how I ended up. I more or less get they give it to me, but those are my family in the community here. And some of them are my friends and my relatives and that kind of stuff. It's not like outside that you look after your business and that's it. But I got to think of what happened about their checks in the mail if I don't have a post office going. So that's my role is to have a post office right on the hour in the morning and the evening and 5 days a week.
Well, I don't think anybody from the outside who comes here thinks of Fort Hope without remembering Corny's store. You're like Buckingham Palace in London. You're just part of the...
I like to hire there's a lot of people there that's been working there 20 years or more. There's about 3 or 4 people, but but the young fellas keep changing. But I like to have a young fellas working there because they're the ones that's going to carry the community down the road. But I do have quite a few young fellas in there too. So I got 2 shifts, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. They work, like say, by the time they clean up and everything at their own shift, it's 8 hours.
Yeah. Well, you must be very proud of what you've accomplished. Very proud.
Well, I always hoping that I accomplish something and do something, but to be to have my store and post office and gas and ammunition and all that kind of stuff to go. I just got to thank my customers. That's all there is to it. I mean, they're fantastic. Yes, anything I don't have, they'll order it from outside, but that's their money, and I don't have it, so what's it? That's just the way it works. And so it's without those customers, I'm nothing.
Well, it's a very modest way to look at a very great accomplishment, I think. And
Yeah,
on
yeah.
top of that, chief for 16 years.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed it.
It's
In
amazing.
fact, I still very close with some of the friends or counselors that I had there that I used to work with, and then after we got kicked out of the office, and we don't forget each other. And it's nice friends. And the nurses, you know, the nurses work extra hours in our community. I mean, those are hardest workers in the community. They don't have equipment they need to work with, but they're still doing whatever they can. And then we got school teachers, and so they are pretty helpful people coming from outside to help run our community.
Well, I think they're following your model. Great to meet you.
Okay, very
Great to
good.
talk
Thank
with
you.
Thanks very much, Corny. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was really wonderful. Oh boy, what a story. What a story. Marion Boyce's son.
What?
You remember, you know Marion Boyce, I think. Marion Boyce?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, her son Roy
yeah.
is wants to write a history of the community.
About him?
No, about the community. Wants
Oh.
to write a history.
Oh yeah.
So you might find yourself talking to Roy about all of your memories of how the community.
Yeah, I know Roy, and
He wants to get it written down. He wants to.
yeah, he's yeah. Well, I know all of them. Like, you know, I was coaching those when I was younger, and those like a guy, Roy, and we used to go take a teams to so Lookout and other places to play hockey in Indian bands tournaments.
Really?
Even Pickle Lake, you know, working people in Pickle Lake versus our people, which we go through Pickle Lake. So those are things that can be done. A lot of things. A lot of things have changed too. What we do and what we didn't do. There's more recreation activity before than it is now. It's not so much.
Really?
And people start having the vehicles too, so they
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
instead of go play ball, they go take their families on the other end of the road and have a picnic there or something.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed that. Hey, well, it really is wonderful to talk with you.
Here's my
get moving.
here's my refrigerator. That's a fishnet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's ready to go. I'm going to Thunder Bay. Probably be a week. We got lots of things to do with the family-wise. I got a son, Nakina, son, daughter in Thunder Bay, and grandchildren in Thunder Bay. They got their own families, so. So I'm this end catching the pickerel and send it to them to eat pickerel. And I keep telling them, why don't you catch your own fish? Because Lake Superior is a big lake. You can get your own fish.
Yeah. They could, and I'm sure you taught them how to do it. Okay, well, we should get along.
You want me to take you somewhere?
We're just going to go back.